When you see citizens calling out their own presidents for congratulating a dictator, then you know something has shifted in Africa. For example, take a look at this post by Ruto. The moment he shared his congratulatory message to Samia Suluhu, Kenyans moved very fast. They added a note right under it, basically telling the rest of the world, this man is speaking for himself, not for us. That note said Ruto's message does not represent the majority of Kenyans, especially with what's happening in Tanzania. It even called him out for ignoring what many are calling a massacre. And the comments that followed were ruthless. I'm going to read a couple of them. Here you have someone like Rayman saying, you talk about safeguarding democracy at the same time congratulating someone who wasn't elected democratically. A court said, we don't have a problem congratulating her, but dragging the whole country in your own opinion is where we don't like, sir. Kindly don't include us, as this is your own personal opinion and not a reflective of the people of Kenya as a whole. Yeah, that right there says everything. Africans are done being silent. They are separating themselves from their president's hypocrisy. And they are saying, if our presidents won't stand with the people, then the people will stand alone. And that's the real story here. Because well, Suluhu was being sworn in inside a military barracks. Well, the police were calling protesters foreigners. Guys, did you catch that? The people who are protesting in Tanzania are not Tanzanians. They are foreigners. So I wonder, who are the Tanzanians on our comment section telling us about what was happening in Tanzania? Are those also foreigners? You know, anyways, well, you have the police, they are calling protesters foreigners, and African presidents are smiling for the cameras. Ordinary citizens across the continent were definitely rewriting this whole story. They are reminding the world that this is Africa. We are awake, informed, and we are watching. Another president we definitely knew would not be late to this whole congratulatory party is Yoweri Museveni. And here is the post. You can be able to see it on your screen right there. We definitely knew Yoweri was not going to be late to the party. That is the post right there, congratulating Samia Suluhu and calling her win a reflection of the confidence Tanzanians have in her leadership and vision. Anyway, he went on to talk about Uganda and Tanzania's friendship, trade, and infrastructure. And guys, this is just the usual diplomatic script. They had to say anything. Someone has been sworn in as a president. These people are our neighbors. So the presidents of other countries, definitely, they have to say something. But also in Museveni's post, the reactions completely different. One user even replied and said, let me see if I can get that for you. Birds of the same feathers flock together, desperate to cling to power while tormenting the opposition for an easy run. If you truly believe in democracy, then let the people, not your puppet electoral commission or sycophants, decide your fate at the ballot. People are not fooled by these posts. They are seeing a pattern. The same presidents who have overstayed their welcome, they are congratulating another president who is being accused of doing the same thing. And this time, Africans are not keeping quiet. They are calling it out. They are saying, if you truly believe in democracy, then let the people decide. Not your puppet commissions or loyal soldiers, because honestly, this is not about Tanzania alone. It's about a continent where elections are becoming a big joke. And those clapping the loudest are usually the ones who are afraid that, you know, the curtains might close on them next. Now, let's talk about the presidents who actually showed up and why. I think there were only 4 presidents from Africa who showed up. You know, you would actually think for someone who was elected and the voter turnout, they say the people who voted for her, 98%, you would think, hey, let's rejoice and even go and congratulate these misses, you know. But inside that controlled venue in Dodoma were a few familiar faces. I'm sure you saw Zambia's president there, Burundi's president, Mozambique's president, you saw them, and of course, Somalia's Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. Kenya sent our vice president, Kithure Kindiki, to represent William Ruto. Eco fire? All right. Anyway, Uganda's Museveni, he stayed home, but made sure his message of friendship and cooperation was loud and clear. Those were the VIPs in that particular swearing in. But the question is, why were they there? You know, why? Why were they there? Because it wasn't about democracy. Let us agree, nothing about Tanzania election was democratic. So don't tell us those presidents, they flew into Tanzania to congratulate her because she observed democracy in her own country. No, we will not be fooled. We know they were there because they have particular interests to protect. For example, Zambia, they need Tanzania ports to keep copper exports moving. And without Dar es Salaam, Zambia's trade slows down. So obviously, the president cannot be able to offend Suluhu. And then you have Burundi's president, Evariste, there. He relies heavily on Tanzania for imports, political cover also in the East African community, and even refugee management. Mozambique's Chapo has a shared border crisis with Islamist insurgents in Cabo, you know. So Tanzania's cooperation literally affects his country's security. And Somalia's president, he is trying to rebuild international credibility and standing beside his sister, you know, he's saying, you know what, Tanzania might definitely help us in this image that we are trying to portray to the world. So you see, nothing democratic here. Even Ruto's representation was very strategic. Obviously, we know he was not going to go there himself, and probably to avoid the optics of endorsing a rigged election or, you know, congratulating another dictator. But sending Kindiki kept the trade doors open and diplomatic ties intact, because Kenya can't afford a cold relationship with Tanzania. We cannot, especially with Dar es Salaam's growing influence in East Africa's logistics and energy deals. So do you see democracy there? No, just personal interests that are being well represented. So yes, the attendance was not about celebrating democracy. It was about protecting their own interests. So let's just conclude on that. Every handshake in that particular event was very much transactional. And that's the part people don't talk about enough. How African politics run on self-preservation, not solidarity. When citizens are bleeding, presidents are shaking hands. When people demand justice, presidents are doing what? Negotiating business. Anyways, something else that stood out during that ceremony, Samia Suluhu, as you all know, was not sworn in at a national stadium or a public ground where citizens could gather. She was sworn in inside what? Military barracks in Dodoma. And that alone tells you everything you need to know about what kind of election this was. And yesterday I said, even on my ex, no matter how much people try to sanitize Suluhu, nothing changes. She thinks the world doesn't know what happened in Tanzania. But facts never lie. You know, let's be honest. If you feel loved by your people, then please don't go and get sworn in a military barrack. That location, by the way, was a message in itself. She's definitely saying, I control this country, including you, the people. I am the one on top. And the government knew those streets were not safe, not because of terrorism or foreign threats, no, but because people were angry. So instead of facing the public, Suluhu is there surrounding herself with the army. Democratic, you say? Democracy? This whole swearing in is just about fear and control. Fear that crowds might boo. You know, I was actually like, man, so you just risk it and go, you know, get sworn in a stadium and see how people will boo. But they were not going to risk that. They were definitely scared that the crowds with their chants or banners could definitely embarrass her in front of the cameras. And she had to control the situation. There was total control in that military barrack of who enters, who claps, who gets to film this, and what goes out to the world. You should have seen her walking majestically, as if she was completely sure that she got 98% of the votes, you know. By holding that swearing in inside a military zone, they definitely locked out ordinary Tanzanians. The very people the ceremony was supposedly meant to serve. And that is actually ironic. You know, She was swearing to protect the people inside a place built to protect her from them. You are swearing in that you're going to protect the people of Tanzania in a military barrack where the people of Tanzania cannot access. But you know, guys, this is where we say optics matter, you know? A closed door event that is being surrounded by armed guards definitely paints an image of power. There is no legitimacy here. It is the same playbook many African presidents use when they know their mandate is weak. They hide behind uniforms and say it's for security purpose, national security. But the truth is, it is because they want to control the narrative. And then you have police coming out and saying, as we said earlier, those protesting were not Tanzanians. And it all makes sense. Because that is how you erase dissent. You deny that it even belongs to you. You call your own people foreigners just to justify silencing them. So yes, Suluhu's swearing in inside the barracks was not about safety. It was just about fear, optics, and how do we get to control this narrative. Please, don't stage manage a whole show because you need to prove to people you are still in charge. Yeah, you are still in charge. Go on, enjoy your second term. You are still in charge. But you will not erase the truth. In the streets, people are saying otherwise. The images that we've seen are telling a different narrative. And that is what you will not erase. And what makes this even more painful is the contrast. You know, inside the barracks, there is silence, order, smiling faces, African flags that are perfectly arranged there, soldiers who are standing, cameras rolling, you know, to capture this whole peaceful transition. But step outside Tanzania. Step outside the gate of that military barrack. You know, just step outside the gate and there is a completely different country. The same government that is out here promising stability on TV was using force on the streets to silence anyone questioning how 97% of the votes were, you know, magically went one way. That's the image of what, guys? Modern what? Modern dictatorship. They are very calm on camera, but very chaotic off screen, you know. That is why they are even blocking the media. Because they know at one point, I can even lose my temper. And I'll have a media I can't control capturing this moment. And that's not the narrative they want you guys to have. And then you have these presidents inside those VIP tents, all smiles, giving these brotherhood speeches. Well, the people they claim to represent are dying. No, guys, that is not okay. You've blocked them. They can't access. But you are there handshaking each other's hands. And then, as if things could not even get any worse, the police, again, they come out and say, those protesting are what? Foreigners. These are not Tanzanians. We don't know these people. Imagine that. Your own citizens are out there crying for justice, risking their lives, demanding to be heard. And instead of listening, you deny that they even belong to you. That statement alone tells you everything about the mindset of these people in power. Because when you call your own people foreigners, you are not just dismissing their pain. No, you are giving yourself permission to brutalize them, to execute them. You are saying they are not ours. So what happens to them doesn't matter, and you can do whatever you want to them. And it's not even a new trick. This is a play straight from these people's books. Blame the outsiders, say the unrest was foreign funded, actually even say maybe Lynn is being funded, you know, say whoever is talking about Tanzania, these are foreigners. And then you use that to lie. And then you justify whatever you do next or whatever you did previously. But Tanzanians are seen right through this. People online were actually like, if they are not Tanzanians, why are they crying in Swahili? I don't know if someone can cry in Swahili, but I guess it's, why are they crying while speaking in Swahili, you know? Other people said, every time we rise up, suddenly we become foreigners. It reminds me during the protests here in Kenya, the first time when Ruto went to address the public, when the Gen Z were demonstrating, calling them criminals. Like, these people are not even realizing that you are dealing with the same people you claim to represent, and they are telling you, you are representing us wrong. This is not what we want. So you are calling people foreigners, and these are your own people. Very sarcastic, but painfully true. Anyway, this whole thing about even how the police came out and their press statements, it just shows how out of touch Tanzania's government has become. Because when those in power start labeling their own people as outsiders, guys, we cannot say this is propaganda. No, that is fear. They are scared. They are scared of the truth. They are scared of accountability. And they are scared of a generation no longer buying their lies. And that's exactly what they wanted, you know. Tanzania is now shifting the story to make it look like Tanzania was under attack from foreigners. Not from its own broken system, but from an invisible enemy somewhere. Out there we have aliens invading Tanzania. And so we are going to kill these aliens because these people came to disrupt the peace of our nation. And that's a very perfect cover. Because when the headlines now say, Tanzania fights foreign interference, instead of what it's supposed to say, Tanzania cracks down on its own citizens, the international community will even start hesitating. They'll stop asking hard questions. And that is how dictatorships survive, not through strength, but through narrative control. And also, I think yesterday you saw that trend. There was a particular trend on X, people trying to sanitize this woman, saying how she leads with grace, you know, how incredible she is. No matter how much you sanitize these people, please understand you are dealing with a generation of people that have changed. Africans today have phones, people have even VPNs, people have access to live footage, and people are even more courageous. Even when you hide the truth, it will still leak out. No matter how many times you try to bury it, it will still leak out. So yes, you can call these protesters foreigners, but the world saw Tanzanians. Me, I saw Tanzanians. I saw real people with their flags who were in pain. We saw bodies of Tanzanians. Stop saying foreigners. Stop trying to control this narrative. We saw what we saw. And no amount of spinning this or no amount of press statements you issue will erase that. And of course, we have to talk about the opposition that showed up. Did you guys see them? They were sitting together. 16 of them. And you know what? They were just there to sell unity. And then say, Suluhu sworn in alongside her former competitors. But most of those so-called competitors, they just had very small parties with almost no real support. And their presence was not about representing Tanzanians. It was about staging legitimacy. She won, and we as the competitors, we are okay. She really won. Actually, when you watch the opposition, the message this is trying to portray is, look, even the opposition accepts her victory. But behind the scenes, people know the truth. The major opposition leaders were either locked up, silenced, or forced out of the race long before election day. So what we saw was not even reconciliation. This was a performance, a well-rehearsed, a well-staged photo op meant to make dictatorship look like democracy. And that's Suluhu for you. And the saddest part, some of them showed up also, not because they believed in her, but because they also fear for their life. If I don't show up, what happens to me? I mean, look at the other one. He's in jail, being charged with treason. So you definitely get scared because she's already won. She's already going to go for another term, whether you guys like it or not. So you start kissing, you know. Anyways, guys, that is how power works, especially here in Africa. It doesn't just control votes, it controls appearances. Because when you can't convince people you are legitimate, what do? You go on and you manufacture what? Legitimacy. And for the cameras, that room full of smiling former opposition leaders did exactly that. Samia Suluhu might celebrate another term, but the real victory belongs to the Africans who are finally speaking without fear. Those who are telling people like Ruto, you do not speak for us anymore. Those who are mocking the police for calling Tanzania and Spain foreign. Those who, even under blackout, still found ways to show the world what is really happening in Tanzania. Those who used their voice, people like Ngugi. Because no matter how many soldiers stand behind you, they can't protect you from the truth. And the truth right now in this generation is spreading faster than your usual lies. And guys, we have to understand, what just happened is not just about Tanzania. It's also about a continent that is waking up. People who are rising up. People who are no longer scared. People who are actually saying, we will speak no matter how much our voice breaks. And the message is very clear. You know, people are telling these presidents, we see you, and we will definitely remember your actions, and we are not going to clap anymore. We are going to use our voice to shift this narrative. And I hope at the end of the day, where these presidents are, I hope they are watching. It's such a shame for a whole president to go on X and post something and have majority of the people who are following, and the people who are following are not haters. These are truth seekers. These are people who have decided no matter what happens, we are going to say something. So it's such a shame when you post on X and the whole world sees a community post. Under your post, there's a community note there, a small post that says, no, these are your own words. This is not a representation of the people of this country you claim to represent. It's such a shame. Me, I would delete that post. Go on X and look at Ruto's post. Go on X and look at Museveni's post. Man, you gotta enjoy those community notes right there, because you will not lie to people anymore. Celebrate if you have to. Send your messages if you have to, but do it as you, not a representative of a whole country. What you are seeing is interests, business, but what we witnessed happening in Tanzania was a massacre. So don't lie to people. Don't lie to people. And your time is also coming. We are going to still follow up on what happens to Tanzania or in Tanzania after. I love that you guys, you're engaging on the comment section. Yesterday, I was so amazed to see Tanzanians on our comment section. And we are glad we are playing our role in making sure that you guys don't feel alone. So I was very amazed to see those comments on our YouTube video and also on the short video I posted on Instagram. We see you, and you are not foreigners in your own country. You are the people and you have the power. Continue embarrassing these presidents until it clicks that they are actually the servants, not the boss. They are the servants. Continue embarrassing them until it hits home. But that's it from me today. It was amazing to see the presidents react. We definitely predicted they would. It was just a matter of swearing her in. And then you see influx of messages from her brothers and sisters congratulating her. But don't try to tell people, Ati, you are a democratic leader who was elected through a fair election. Nah, nothing fair about it. Nothing fair about it. But that's it from me. I hope, guys, I get to see you tomorrow. If you're from Tanzania, keep letting us know in the comment section what is happening. We will choose to believe you. Not a government that is suppressing the truth. I will choose to believe the real Tanzanians who are speaking. Not police officers who are calling their own people foreigners. And it's such a shame. Anyways, let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. I look forward to seeing you later on in the day, because one of the other presidents that we gotta admire is Ibrahim Traore. He had a very beautiful conversation with his youths on innovation and why foreign countries never fund innovation and research in Africa. So I hope you can be able to come back in a few and catch that conversation. In the meantime, thank you so much for supporting independent journalism. I see you contributing towards our M-Pesa, our Paybill, our PayPal. We do not take that for granted. So thank you so much. And if there's anything you want to share with me, guys, I received such a huge document on Chivayo. You know the guy we were talking about yesterday, asking why he's hanging around each and every president? What? I received something and we might want to take a look at it, you know? Yeah, so you guys, thank you so much for even sharing these tips at info@lnn.digital. We really do appreciate you. See you on the next one in a few. Bye.